talk now about an effective presentation. I'm going to basically share with you a story of a CEO of a hospital here in the UAE. He actually ran 5 hospitals in the US. Sharp guy. He's been around the block. He's in his 60s. And he hired me to speak at his hospital to do a seminar called Jumpstart Your Leadership. So before I spoke, I met with him and I said, who's going to be speaking before me? And he said, I am. I said, oh, okay, fantastic. I said, so how are you going to start your speech? What do you think? He said, what do you think the most common ways people start their speeches? We call these unpleasant pleasantries. And before I go into them, I just want to take a second to welcome you all to this. I like to call this a debinar, not a webinar, because Debbie organized it. Thank you, Debbie, so much. So here's what unpleasant pleasantries are. They're basically when you start off with, how are you? Or I'm so glad to be here today. And you basically talk about, just the thank yous and all that kind of stuff. Now, I don't think it's unimportant to thank people. A lot of you guys are DeMartini Method people. Gratitude is, something that we definitely want to add to our lives. But I think there's a place for thank yous. And I think you want to start, I like starting with questions and starting with a story. But this gentleman, when he was speaking to his doctors, was going to start with this. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here at 7 o'clock. If you can please pass your mobile phones up. I want to take all your mobile phones. I want all your attention. And these were heads of departments at his hospital, his leadership team, basically. So the look on my face kind of changed when he said, what do you think, And he said, oh, you're not impressed. I said, I don't think that's the best way to start. In world-class speaking, we believe in starting with a bang and opening up with a question, starting with a story, connecting with the audience is the way you start with a bang. So we met for coffee at Starbucks. He wanted me to do some speech coaching for him. And so I said to him, listen, what is the effect? And this is what you want to start with. What is the effect that you want to have on the audience? So he said, I want to inspire my team. I want them to wake up inspired about making a difference and going to work. So I asked him a question. I said, what wakes you up in the morning? And I was quite surprised with his answer. You probably will be too. He said, 10 years ago, I killed a patient. So I said, Kevin, you're not even a doctor. How'd you kill a patient? He said, well, look, one of my doctors gave a lethal injection, and I took it upon myself as the leader of the hospital to go tell the widow that your husband just died under our care. And he said to me, I don't ever want that to happen again. He remembers going in the room, and it was his darkest day. And he also remembers months after not being able to show himself in public. He was just completely depressed. He said he doesn't want that to repeat. So I said, all right, and this is the DeMartini in us, just trying to make sure he has a balanced perspective on things. So I said, Kevin, what good came out of this? In other words, what positive things, this is how I said it to him, what positive things happen as a result of this experience? Besides being, him stepping up his ability to tell people some bad news and build his character. But I mean, just in the hospital, he said, look, that's a very good question. He said, we created a co-pilot system that's put into place now where when one doctor is giving an injection, there's another doctor that's kind of next to him as a co-pilot. So this doesn't happen again. The guy that actually gave the injection went on, interestingly enough, to become head of national safety in the U.S. So I said to him, is it possible that lives were saved or deaths were prevented because of this? And he took a long pause. And you could hear the ceiling fan in Starbucks because the room got silent as he said, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. And I said, so is it a mistake? I won't tell you what he said, but how many of you would be interested in hearing his 2 to 3 minute speech to his team? All right. So basically, I wrote the speech for him. But I didn't do the writing because the writing was in his heart. I basically just asked him the right questions because as you guys know, as consultants, we don't have the answers, but we have the right questions to bring out the answers. And I just put it on paper for him. Here's his speech. First words out of his mouth were, have you ever woke up uninspired to go to work? And most of them raised their hands. He said, and these are two very powerful words at this point. What do you think he said next? Bingo. He said, me too. At that point, he just connected with everybody. He said, I've been there too. I understand you. He said, 10 years ago, a patient died under our care in a U.S. hospital. And I've been carrying this around with me for about 10 years and calling it a mistake until I had coffee with a friend the other day. And he made me realize, and I won't review it again, but he made me realize that our hospital became a world-class hospital because of it. We created, different policies and standards and that kind of thing. So at this point, he raised his voice and he said, I don't want you to wake up uninspired. I don't want you to wake up fearing killing somebody, afraid to make a mistake. I want you to wake up inspired about making a difference. And that was it. It was so simple. And let me just tell you what, if ineffective speaking costs you, effective speaking saves you. And it basically saved him his team. I personally know many of the doctors that were working in that hospital, and this was a new CEO, they're ready to leave. They would have left if it wasn't for this speech. I'm sure of it. And as a speech coach, I don't have the speech. You have the speech. It's sitting in your heart, and we just got to find the right questions to get the speech out and then dissolve the fears that interfere with you delivering it.